Angela, first of all, just picking up on what we were hearing in that report, where would you say France stands on this issue and the United States?
I think it's important to note that there has been no comment from the European Union as a bloc, and that's because the European Union is always slightly divided on this issue. France, as we heard there from Antonia, supporting the ICC, its independence and its struggle against impunity in the world, but more or less trying to be even-handed, whereas the rest of the European Union broadly divides into two camps. You have countries such as Belgium, Spain, Ireland, who identify very much with the Palestinian cause, and they have come out quite strongly welcoming this request for an arrest warrant, whereas Austria, Italy, Hungary, the Czech Republic have expressed strong reservations about the idea of putting a democracy in the same arrest warrant package, if you like, as Hamas leaders. And that lines up with the US position, which, as Antonia said there, of course, strongly on Israel's side. They are outraged, as the Israelis are, saying that there is no moral equivalence whatsoever between Hamas and Israel. What will be interesting is if the Republicans in the US try to force Joe Biden to introduce sanctions against the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, because that is what Trump did. Donald Trump had travel sanctions on Karim Khan's predecessor at the ICC. That would put Biden in a very difficult position. Of course, this, even a request for an arrest warrant, also makes it difficult for the US and its big supply of arms to Israel.
And Angela, Israel clearly reacting extremely strongly, did so in a number of statements yesterday. The Israeli foreign minister now here in Paris. What would you say the country's current strategy is?
They are outraged, and they have called upon what they describe as civilized nations to oppose this, because the ICC could never be described, it simply isn't possible given the nature of the court, as an entirely legal institution. There is inevitably politics. They are calling on what they call civilized nations to lobby against the idea of issuing these arrest warrants, and civilized nations to say, if you do issue them, we will not enforce them on our territory. And this is very difficult because, as Antonia said there, for the first time, the ICC would be issuing an arrest warrant against a Western-backed democracy. Now, Israel says there is a reason for that, and that is because a Western-backed democracy follows the rules of international law. Israel says it's following the rules of international law, and its own institutions are robust enough to be trusted to investigate, to try to punish anyone found guilty of serious crimes. That is Israel's position. The ICC is, in a sense, trying to advertise its global legitimacy, and it is threatened because on so many occasions we have seen Slobodan Milosevic of Serbia, we have seen Omar al-Bashir of Sudan, recently Putin. Never before has a Western democracy's leader been their arrest being sought.
And how do you think this will develop then within Israel in the days and weeks ahead?
I think it's fair to say that across the political spectrum so far there is outrage in Israel. They are appalled at this moral equivalence they see being levelled at the suggestion that they are on the same moral level as Hamas, which conducted the October the 7th attacks. And so even the families of the hostages, who have been very critical of Netanyahu on many occasions since October the 7th, have rallied. The Israelis tend to close ranks on these sort of occasions. That said, this could be very problematic for Netanyahu's already dwindling chances of re-election, because it would be very difficult for Israel to rehabilitate itself in the International Court of Public Opinion with a leader who has an international arrest warrant out against him. It would also make it very difficult for him as a leader to travel to very many countries. It's true that the United States is not a signatory, but 124 countries are, and to have a leader whose travel is restricted is not an easy position. So that could be a problem further down the line, and it could be that damage to Israel's reputation comes to be a bigger factor than the closing ranks which we've seen in the immediate aftermath.
All right, good to get your analysis. Angela Diffley for us there.